While millions of companies have been left vulnerable to fraud after the CIPC was hacked, the Commission holds details of companies, including ID numbers, addresses, and contact details. Now, let's think about that. With those details, hackers can order laptops. They can also do so with vehicles or even rent buildings. Richard Frost from the Armata Cybersecurity says companies should act fast to protect themselves. Thank you for your time this morning, Richard. I think just first and foremost, maybe shed some light on the repercussions for South African organizations when it comes to the CIPC hack. And now that it is the aftermath of this, of course, what should companies be doing?
Morning, Barrett. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I think, the situation we're sitting in at the moment is the CIPC has done the right thing by announcing to the regulator that they have had a breach. What we're uncertain about and what they're probably still trying to glean is exactly how much data was stolen. I think as a precautionary, South African citizens should be looking at things like changing their login details, especially if they're using common passwords across the CIPC sites, as well as potentially other sites like internet banking, or even, any other company-related sites. I think as well, just, keeping a track of your credit record over the next couple of months, just to see if anybody is impersonating your business and opening up fraudulent accounts in your name. That's a good thing to keep your eye on. Again, if the information that was stolen is only the information that is currently publicly available, then it's not, too much of a problem. But if more information was stolen that should not be gleaned, like directors' information and IDs, that could have far-reaching consequences, to the South African citizens and companies out there.
And Richard, how does the lack of visibility into the extent of the hack and, compromised information actually poses a serious threat to companies, and what specific vulnerabilities are we looking at here?
Yeah, so I think with any data breach, it's always very difficult to actually gauge what information was stolen until the threat actors start utilizing it. So we always expect the worst and try and mitigate risk based on that. So, talk to your customers, talk to your suppliers, tell them, if they are seeing any information that's coming through that looks suspicious, if there are individuals that are utilizing your company information, they should just phone and confirm with you. If you create, fake accounts, email accounts, and start transacting that way, your suppliers might think it is actually you that's transacting with them. So make sure that if you do have a request from a business to open up accounts with, especially on credit, make sure that you phone the directors and confirm, exactly that it is the company. Phone the switchboard, make sure that you're getting through to the correct business. It's probably your checks and balances that need to be in place now more than ever with all the information that's been populated out on the web.
And apart from companies, Richard, I think also individuals need to take some serious, action here as well when it comes to protecting their information. What advice do you have for individuals?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, one of the things that you need to do as a director in the business is obviously put through your ID number as well as your email and contact address. And if that information has been taken by threat actors, they can start reaching out to you, start impersonating other people using that information. And again, because they've got your ID number, if it's somebody like a bank, they could be saying, you need to put your PIN in to transact or something like that. And they've got all the information like your ID number and your cell phone number and email. It starts signing as that the threat actor is a legitimate entity. So again, just make sure that you do the checks and balances. Don't do the obvious things like hand your PIN over the phone to somebody for your bank account or your password. Just be more aware. I think one of the biggest things in cybersecurity that we face today is not just putting the systems in place to help prevent these kinds of things, but also training your users to understand how that information could be used against them and how to identify a potential threat that's been perpetrated using that information that was stolen.
And someone might think they are not prone to this, or they're not really involved when it comes to the CIPC hack. They might not understand what exactly this means and thinking, this is just for businesses and certain individuals. It doesn't affect me. What do you have to say to that person?
I think that what we've seen, and there's cyber insurance statistics that relate to this, is everyone's a target. I always joke and say, my mom complains about the fact she downloads a knitting pattern and she has a virus. It just goes to show that anybody's susceptible to cybercrime, and it's this information that's stolen can be used to attack anyone. And I think the less prepared we are, the more easily we will be attacked by that information gleaned. The less education we have to protect ourselves with, the more susceptible we are to the attack. There's no sort of limits as to who a person will attack. Some of the threat actors are very strategic, and they'll go after big businesses with big payouts. Some threat actors will go after anyone that casts a wide net and just try and see what they can get. And the more people they hit, the more money they'll get. So yeah, they'll target anyone from somebody sitting at home right through to a corporate director.
Yeah. When it comes to legal and governmental protection, if I want to call it that, there doesn't seem to be a lot around that. And is it then even more up to you as a business and as an individual to protect yourself because there is a lack when it comes to that, or am I wrong?
I think from a POPIA perspective, we're definitely heading in the right direction. If you look at GDPR in Europe, that's a very strong governance around personal information, and South Africa's now launched POPIA. There's a lot of countries, even in the USA, that doesn't have a fixed regulation around the protection of personal information. Some of the states in the US have their own laws. Some of the states are very lax, and you'll find companies like Facebook, they'll actually find areas with lax laws to go and build their data centers so that if there is a breach, they don't face consequences. I think once the POPIA regulator starts, building up more, capacity to start enforcing the law, start fining more companies, start sending certain individuals to prison for these data breaches, people will start taking it more seriously.
Yeah.
I think your risk at the moment is a lot worse. A couple of years ago, there was no impact to you losing somebody's data, and now there is. So it definitely is a right direction. But I think as well, we also need to start training law enforcement. A lot of people, we inform the regulators of the data breach, but if we try and get hold of somebody in the police force, a lot of the times they don't know where to route you through to. Countries like Australia are starting to build government cyber incident response teams that if you have a breach, you can actually contact them and they'll start assisting you, with your breach. So I think these are the kinds of things we need to start working towards as a country. And the cybersecurity companies that are out there, we already assisting companies with the forensic audits and getting information back, but it's coming at a cost. So companies need to start investing in things like cyber insurance to pay for that. So until the government starts, enforcing more laws and building more facilities to assist smaller entities with it, it's a costly affair to have a cyber attack. SMEs, 20 users, 50 user organizations are paying upwards of R1 million, for a breach. You can imagine a large organization like the CIPC, their cost of resolving this breach is going to be astronomical.
Yeah, it's a devastating domino effect, rather when it comes to financial complications as well. Thank you so much for your time, Richard, this morning. Always great to chat. Richard Frost, of course, head of consulting at Armata. Well, South Africa implemented several austerity programs after the COVID-19 pandemic. Patrick Bond from the University of Johannesburg says the finance minister's shrinking public sector spending is affecting water infrastructure investments.
Mostly in the recent years, it's because of austerity. And we've seen that just this last month with the new budget, which still continues these cuts in funds for our vital municipal, provincial and national services. So when I saw your last two inserts that included Ferial Adam from the Water Community Action Network, or in Durban, the Imatu and Samu strikers, and they're, I think, pushing on this question: are the water systems, the municipal systems, getting enough money from our finance minister, Enoch Godongwana? And I think demonstrably, no. We've seen real cuts, particularly after the 2020 International Monetary Fund loan for COVID-19. And I think that would be what we would want to really look at reversing before we go for a public-private partnership strategy, because those have been so disappointing.
Well, political parties in the Ekurhuleni Council chamber are attempting to remove ANC Mayor Sibuyile Ngondwana. Now, this time, the sponsor